Thank you for saying all those nice things. Okay. First poem here. Scape Stream. Don't get lazy because of the year. Recover the pure intention, the logic like water. Days might be hollow. Let the foxes know they have a home. Spring might look like an apocalypse with its cracked mud and water dripping everywhere. But take it easy. It's only a moral. Your punches give the universe energy. You don't get to keep it. But what kind of universe? Kind and just? Harsh and cruel?
Stop holding the mic.
Cows might moo like a wave of destruction. Birdsong might destroy 20 things. A morning might last too long and replace everything in a tower with glass, leaving the tower intact. You might wake up one morning dreaming of dull tigers or a cardboard bedsheet. But the energy signature will still be there, in the heat wave whispering in the summer's ear, like a black crystal tide of high-pitched strings, and when snow puffs itself up in the fall to melt at full size. Tips for town. Breathe in fire. Your brother's shirt billowing off his back while he's on a bike. Breathe out. An actress's smile. Consider being a dog sweating under too much fur, or a no-nonsense man with a cup of yogurt. Make all your money on the street. An old man told you they never paid the grasshopper. Play a French tune in a French accent. Let a French wind pass through you like a finger through bow hairs. Bend down to touch a dead worm on the ground. Let it billow out around you like a dark cloak. Desire something so much, you might as well have it. I'm glad the bio that I submitted, now that I think of it, mentioned that I play Celtic fiddle, by the way, because that featured in that one, and music's going to feature and fairly prominently in a whole bunch of these coming up. Particularly this one. All music I listen to for traveling. Production cliches are the summer, twang is inflation, crunch is grass moving backwards after you've primed yourself by walking under enough vines. Sticky, slimy seed pods in summer, sun in winter, car dealerships worship the same God who raised the sky to a mushroom dome for pianos and guitars. When side doors spill their insides so you can't tell them from outsides, that's a beat, that's dropped bass love, an origami blade to lick with language. And also this one, this is a longer one, and this is also, like, I do music because my entire family does music and is incredibly musical, particularly my dad, who a while ago actually completed a sort of basically remix of Glenn Gould's version of Scriabin's Fifth Sonata, which I don't know if like that can be found anywhere, but like I highly encourage people to go listen to that if there's any way for them to do that. And this poem was basically written as a sort of poetry accompaniment to the Scriabin's Fifth that follows basically the same sort of trajectory through images. It's called Fantasia on Gould's interpretation of Scriabin's Fifth Sonata. A river rushes up from a cavern. A flood coalesces in cloudy collisions. The smell of rain falls in molecules on a field. Eyes open and unseen animals moved like sparks in the tunnel of echoes left by the water. In a ballroom, in a living room, in a parlor of rusted copper, electric lights shine desperate as autumn mornings through the glassy sound of a piano. High notes explore the halls, the rhythm leans on low notes like the room reclining against itself, starts and backward settling of tired eyes. The reclining, the tipsily standing, sway in still air like tall grasses heavy with empty seed pods, frames of seed pods held up to the sun like museum pieces, like open cages shaken by raindrops. The pianist with his shoulders swinging in a slow orbit, retreats into his snail shell, his spiral. The room is inside him, or outside the space inside him where he plays on a black stage to silence under floodlights. In a carnival of cold in the caverns, the breaks between floods are the birthplace of nimble fingers, translucent feelers, bright atrophied eyes. The river's foggy surface moves like a conveyor belt, and the breeze steps cavalier above the bent necks, the lines of grasses bowing. Here, as below, a carnival spreads its gaping sails. The clouds coalesce, snakes snap through the stems in fear, and birds burst woodward, and rodents run, toes clicking through the quiet. The front lines meet in a contest of blue-gray painting. The thunder of rivulets begins, currents coil and growl underground. And though the pianist's heavy fingers almost sleep on the keys, and though gaze is stretched out on bare and black-coated shoulders, lean into the shallows of sleep as the phrases expand like lungs, and circular steps are made, and the knuckles of the keys are dislocated joints. Eyes barely open blink at each other like inner-city stars. Huge raindrops hit the dirt. Small raindrops melt into stains on leaves. And though there is a sound like a gentle downpour on the roof, too distant to be thunder, a sound like paper being shaken, or sails spreading high above a schooner's echoey hold, the parlor dark and cold, and underground, words falling off the end of the evening like something dripping in a corner. There is also a symmetrical movement, the tropism of a long-gloved arm. A couple starts to dance like sediment suspended in water. 2 or 3 couples, like long leaves that chase each other's tails in the roaring rivulets, barely above the stained soil, the carpet, leaving vanishing paths in the moving water that now seems to inhabit the room, as the room now seems to inhabit the rotating world of the pianist's ecstatic shoulders. A rhythm has developed. Tiny tribal drummers batter the leaves with their thin sticks. Pods and petals cruise from side to side of the gutter flows between the shrub trunks. Noises add up to a silence. A finished cobalt leaps from the seams of clouds, and the hidden stage lights go out. Leaves calico with wetness are submerged far below the sun, where a Paleolithic prey fish, a moving cave mud fossil like one bent finger, swims single strokes in the silence, makes inaudible ripples. Like a high note you think you hear, the doorbell ringing several rooms away, the pianist pursuing it in the furthest black keys with cautious predator hands above the cycling of cold currents in the sand and this beeping in an upper box of the auditorium. The parlor's inhabitants fix the single-minded attention of sleepers on a dream, on those who dance and trail blue bubbles through the stagnant air in the pianist's hands as they dive into the cave water. His shoulders and back-tilted head circle worlds like a subway train, strutted with curved bones on its track, accelerating a bit more with every cycle of acceleration. The swim, the chase, the couple grasping itself in the middle of the whirling floor. That's about the first movement or so. Thank you. Half-assed hanami. Hanami is the Japanese practice of watching cherry blossoms and often writing poetry under them. Motionless bee falls like a sandbag from a balloon, as if realizing its tiny wings aren't supposed to be able to hold it up, like it hit a tripwire of smell woven into the air with almost deadly precision. Great art's aim to knock out some innocent, wandering, bumbling thing. 2. A petal turns, luxuriating in reluctance, caressing its own energy. From leaves that ponder, questions more in a satellite dish's range of expertise. The grass hasn't awakened yet. Awakened quantities should be the ones leaving the stains. 3. And the piece of Japanese music here translates to, I'll put the mosaic pieces together one by one. Mosaiku kakera hitotsu hitotsu tsunagi awasete egaite yuku. Sings someone whose culture knew this and not mosaics. The wind patterns the melodies caught in the smells. The wind patterns a mosaic on the ground. I'm watching a restoration executed with mischief, and I'm glad these are crabapple blossoms and not cherry blossoms with their vaunted impermanence. Easter frogs. A spontaneous malfunction repeats, implicit rhythm becoming real and then implicit again as you try and figure out what's happening. What chemical is making noise like it's mechanical? Make sure it's not another manipulation of the head pulling out the equal sign-shaped staples of reality and putting them back like a child experimenting with loose teeth. Webbed feet disappear at the end of booster rocket legs, kicking like a knife that's only knife and not cut. The way his eyes were down, big and relaxedly ready like vestigial arms, you had to concentrate on their direction as one concentrates at a moment of silence broadcast on TV. A kid on the path, returning to the fairy mound, said he saw a whole frog on top of another frog, mating on the day the child was scheduled to be born again. That had to be a glorious lateness. And as I try to figure out why grafting angst onto another poem about animals doesn't seem violent but warm, sticky, gentle, like gum glomming onto a desk, I think the party only starts late in Frogland, but the resurrection doesn't have to take 3 days. The revolution is now. Pot and mushrooms. Fun fact, I haven't ever done either of those substances. Spring evenings blue as summer days. Radio decadence swinging from airwaves. Transforms willingly at church bell and bus click back to pour. Autumnal steam, a pot of mushrooms ready at the open door. I think that's it, unless there's time for another thing. Thank you. I'd also like to say thank the guy who told me not to hold the mic. Although I actually kind of dug the sound that was making. Like, it was almost this sort of gong thing that was totally working, but wouldn't have worked with everything there.